Sexual harassment for many years has been one of the many looming cruel acts committed daily in our society. About 85% of the victims are children and youth. We see and hear many of these stories on TV, radio, and across all social media platforms. We shall be sharing more light on sexual harassment, the actions that can be termed sexual harassment, how urgent such cases are attended to, and we as youth and the society at large, how can we contribute to make sure sexual harassment is eradicated from our society in order for us to have the country of our dream. Welcome to another segment of your favorite show, Gist and Trails. This is the panelist segment, and I have with me Doimola and Dara. Welcome, Doimola.
Thank you.
Welcome, Dara. So, guys, you know what? My name is Didayo Adeluyi, and it's not a coincidence that we have 3 Ds seated right on this chair.
Right.
Didayo, Dara, and Doimola. So, expect nothing but a soothing conversation on sexual harassment. Let's go. Sexual harassment has become a pandemic that is slowly destroying, or let me say, gradually destroying the lives of the youth and children. And as simple as sexual harassment sounds, some people really don't know what it means. So I'm throwing you this question. What do you think is sexual harassment, Dara?
I mean, you could go by legal definition, but since we're trying to make it what people can relate to it, I'll first start by saying some key things, like elementary things. Sexual harassment is not just affecting women. Sexual harassment is not just about young girls. Sexual harassment can happen to anybody, male, female. What matters is the fact that you get an unwanted sexual attention in whatever form it comes. It could come very informal setting where they're like, oh, but I was just playing, even as a joke.
Yeah.
That is sexual harassment. That's what I would just say, elementarily. These are the things I want to establish first.
All right. How about you, Doimola?
Okay, I totally agree with what Dara said. Just to add to it, I would say in another term, unwanted sexual advances, either verbally or, physically, via calls, I'll just say the same thing that she has said so far.
Yeah.
So, what are the actions that can be termed sexual harassment without penetration? I actually asked that because, some people get harassed a lot. They don't even know. Yes. So far, I'm not touching you. I didn't touch you. We're not laying on the bed. That's not. But then, what are the things the actions that can be termed as subjects we're discussing?
Okay. Well, she said something about unwanted sexual advances. Yes, unwanted sexual advances, no actual penetration happens. In the context of law, really, rape happens when there is an actual penetration.
Sure.
And in the Nigerian context, they only talked about penetration of the female private part. But with the provisions now of Violence Against Person Act, you have penetration to include oral penetration as opposed to just vaginal penetration. So, if you say what constitutes sexual harassment other than penetration, let's make a distinction between sexual harassment and rape. People always assume that as long as I'm not raping you, you are not shouting. You get you're not shouting, nothing is happening. People would, you think it's something that you have to, it's an aggressive thing that is happening where you'll be crying and stuff, all those things. That really isn't the full scope of sexual harassment. We're going into the territory of rape there. But sexual harassment, it looks very mild.
Sure.
It's like, I don't want to say twin brother, because twin brother is identity, like identification, they're close. But let's say they're in the same neighborhood. If you're already a person that used to sexually harassing people, I'm sorry, but I won't be comfortable around you. I already suspect you. I see you as a potential, like a rapist in training. Yeah, to me, that's what I see. So, but there's still a difference between sexual harassment and rape. And I think that's what I would just want to mention.
Okay, sexual harassment. In precise terms, right? Being touchy, it could. You said something earlier. It could be to a male, and it could also be to female, right? So we're not limiting it to a guy harassing a girl, right? So it could be a girl to a girl, male to male, and all of that. So being touchy, unnecessarily touchy, and I would also agree with what you said about somebody doing that and then saying that it was just a joke. It's not a joke, right? Catcalling, the likes of seeing somebody from afar or seeing somebody close, perhaps because she's walking alone or is walking alone, you start to, say certain things that could be, degrading, demeaning, or just basically scaring somebody and also saying it or doing it in a sexual manner, right? While I was younger, I can remember some guys would just say certain words or do certain signals. Those things in themselves are actual, sexual harassment. So.
All right, good. So, oftentimes people get harassed, but the victims, they don't speak up. They don't speak. A perfect example is what happened, Oluwabamiche, the BRT case kind of thing. And I think that is what is coming to my mind right now. And I want to ask you that, why do you think they don't speak up?
Okay, why don't they speak up? Now, Dara said something earlier that they probably don't know they are being sexually harassed. So I'll say that that's one thing. And then another thing could be that perhaps they do not have who to talk to. Because the honest truth is that you may think that whoever committed suicide based on sexual harassment did not get to talk to anybody, or there was just no opportunity. But the honest truth is that there's probably nobody to talk to because of trust issues. Many times when you share stories like this, well, let me be very personal here. When you share stories about sexual harassment or certain things generally, you just feel like the next person is about to do the same thing to you. And many times it sort of happens. It could even be a relationship. Maybe you're going through a certain thing, but that person you're sort of leaning on becomes that person tomorrow that is now, doing stuff that you've explained to the person to you. So that's what I'll say for now.
Okay. In this,
Can I add to? I want to add to what she says because she was saying not having someone to talk to, or the fact that the person you talk to could as well just now interpret it as this girl is open for stuff. But there's also the part of stigmatization, like the misappropriation of stigmatization. In this situation, it shouldn't be the person that is harassed that should bear the stigma. It should be the harasser, really, the person doling out that kind of behavior. But then you find out that certain contexts make people docile. For example, societal expectations. The expectation for properly groomed, in this context, ladies, you're smiling, you're receptive to people, you don't frown your face. And I tell you, fine girl like you, boning face, stuff like that. And they say all of these things because they expect that as a woman, or you're just generally agreeable. You can smile, and then as a woman, you're also afraid that when I smile, they say she was smiling at me now. There's this very confusing thing where you're not sure whether you should smile or not smile. Which one is so there's that part, and then there's the contextual part of it, where is it happening? What kind of environment is it happening in? Sexual harassment among family. Your mom, uncle touched me this way. You don't say that kind of thing lightly, because the first thing is, who's going to believe me? It doesn't have to be rape now because we've made a distinction. Just the illicit touching, that kind of indecent exposure, that kind of like just rubbing my body. And then what about the other context of office setting? This is for me, and I really take this thing personally. And sorry, so I'm really about to rant right now. Office setting where is like for you to tell me, and then when you're open, like for example, you're an expressive person, and then you can really talk about things. People just assume that you're sort of immoral. I don't know if that's ever happened to you. If just like you're asking me a question, if for example you're asking me a question about sex, and I give my opinion. Some people assume.
I totally agree with that.
Like they just assume that this girl, she's exposed. She's that kind of. And
even though she's not.
And you might not even be. There's nothing wrong giving it. So in an office setting, for example,
be comfortable being verbal.
I'm
about
telling
it,
you,
and
then the funniest part is there's this kind of in an office setting, there's this tushness that comes with. They're not just. It's not like on the street where someone is calling like A B A. No, it's tush.
Yes.
I've had this happen to me before, and that's why it's like personal for me, where somebody just brushed my side boobs like. I felt okay. This is a mistake. Let me not make a big deal, because the first thing you want to do is you don't want to make a big deal out of it. You want to pretend. You want to believe it's a mistake first. At first, you're like, maybe it's a mistake. You don't want to like assume that somebody will just on their own normally without you doing anything. Nothing. You didn't go near them. You're just sitting on your own, and someone just come and brush your side. That's happened to me in an office setting. I first had to pretend because I didn't want to believe what was happening. I was like.
Okay.
So I think these things, the context where it's happening is part of why people don't talk about it, because they're like, let it not be like I'm the troublemaker. And for me, that was one of my problems. Even as a lawyer, I was like, let it not be. They'll say, because she's a lawyer, she's taking it too far. Am I not just playing with you? That kind of thing. So that's what I think.
For the key thing that you mentioned, now a child telling our mom that uncle did this to me, in that setting, I think that majority of, this is generalization because I'm not very precise or I'm not very sure. I would say that many parents do not imagine that their siblings can do such to their kids. So many times, even if a kid says, this is what uncle did, or this is what auntie did, the mother can just be like, not take it seriously, even though they should, right?
Thank you very much. I think people are enjoying this conversation. I'm enjoying it right here too. I'm enjoying and I'm learning. So we'll be back in a bit. Oh, wait. You expecting me to persuade you to rent this apartment? Oh no, I don't need to. Crest Shortlet an apartment speaks for itself. Give us a call today. Welcome back, guys. So before we dive into the conversation, I just need to remind you that you need to hit the subscribe button. It's down there. Down there. Yeah. Like, comment on YouTube, Gist and Cheers, On Facebook, Gist and Cheers. On Twitter, on Instagram, Gist and Cheers. I think Instagram is different. Gist and Cheers _ Gist and Cheers. Yes, that's it. So now, Dorimola, you delve into the other time before the break. You talked around parenting. So my question to you is: do you think parents they have something to do about teaching their kids anything about sexual harassment and all that like that? Because I remember when I was little, I actually did something stupid I can't even talk about now. Beat the hell out of me that day. Come on, man. It wasn't. So I remember him beating me. So do you think there's something parents needs to do to help their kids figure out what it is?
Yes, really, yes. Parents need to sensitize their kids. They shouldn't be left in the dark about sex or sexual. I mean, like you said earlier, there are grades to this thing, right? So a kid in our fifth year or his fifth year, because like I said, it's male or female, in his or her fifth year or 10th year or 15th year, there are like different things you can say to help them understand this thing. And being a parent, it shouldn't be left to the society to just sensitize, one's kid about about sex. Let me start from sex, because it's from sex we can then talk about everything that has to do with harassment when it comes to sex. So I believe that parents have a key thing to do. They have something to do when it comes to having their kids know about this thing, so that when an uncle or an auntie touches them, they're able to just open up and trust that, oh, my mom is going to want to hear about this from me, because there's really nobody they can speak to except for somebody that they can confide in, even at that young age.
Yeah, for me, I would say, growing up, really, we all
That's
don't
generalization.
Don't look at me. We all sort of did this mommy and daddy play.
Generalization. I'll just say that. Some didn't do it.
Okay, pretend. No problem. I agree. But then, the thing is, at that innocent stage, it was sort of naive. It wasn't with any illicit intention. It was just simple stuff like kids being kids and all of that. Yeah, so where do parents come in? Personal experience. I don't know if this might be appropriate to share, but as a child harassed me sexually, and my parents beat me for it, and I was like,
wow.
What? Like, I remember this experience because something you feel you were unfairly treated for. It's sort of it sticks to you. It was like a core memory for me. Like what I remember though, because this was even narrated. Imagine when they beat you up from sleep and then they narrate what you did. But I was sleeping, guys. Wait, what happened? So let me just really give like a backstory to it. So basically, my parents with slap or something woke me up. And then I found out that apparently their problem with me was I slept so much, such that I did not know when somebody else was touching me.
Oh, wow.
So, and the culprit here happened to be a young girl like me. It was maybe like 7 or so. At the time, where was I? Maybe 5 or something. And then I was like, so at the time I was not, aware of what was happening. But of course, this beating made me aware.
You had to.
It made me aware. But then the thing is, now my parents made me understand with that action, as much as I would not really advise it, they made me understand that this was not cool. Yeah. So it would have been nice actually though if they brought the other girl to say, why did you do this? Make that person also carry the stigma. Because at that point I started feeling ashamed for what I was not even responsible for. And I think that's part of what parents come in.
True.
So you might think that just because, the kids are innocent, because that's part of what they do to that. What the children know. They're young people, but they're so innocent. But kids are foundation. Yeah, they're copying stuff they've seen on TV, in cartoons somehow too, and they think it's cool to just practice it on people. And then if you leave it on, tamed, they become full-fledged adults, repeating these things that they've practiced over time, and they think it's normal. Because, for example, some places, especially if you go to markets in Lagos, you see people grabbing you, holding you.
Yeah.
It's very, very. I use this opportunity to say it is very annoying. Please avoid it. Like, they just grab your hand, sister, come on.
It's understand.
It's
why,
just, and then
you're dragging me.
We're just playing with you now. That part is really wrong. Yeah. This appropriate level of torture for people you don't even know. even hugging people that you don't know. I'm not saying you shouldn't hug somebody or not, but be sure that they're comfortable with these things. And this is where parents come in, because you have to reinforce that certain things are not cool, even if it looks like a joke. So that's what I think.
Okay. So moving on. In this part of this world, sexual harassment is not being given the attention it's needed. When we get to see online a case of sexual harassment, and then everybody gets to see it, and then they catch the victim. Sorry, they get the victim, they get what did you say that? Yeah, the corporate, right? They get the person, and all of a sudden, we see hashtag justice for over time, and then you at that point, you feel okay. Oh, this guy's in trouble today.
This is what. Yeah, I know, right?
But then, at the end of the day, nothing is done. Nothing gets done like that. So I want to ask you that. You think it's like they give it the attention it's needed, like in this world that we are, like the attention they need to give to this harassment thing, they don't give it to it. Like from my own hand, sincerely, I don't know from your hand. Maybe you have something to say about that.
Okay, so let me say this first of all. Many times when I've not done my research about certain things, I do not like to generalize, because I could say that in Lagos, Nigeria, or in Nigeria, many people are very aware about this. People have like NGOs that has to do with the, sensitizing people, getting children, and parents aware and all. But if I were somebody who is engaged in this project, I think my answer would be yes, parents are aware because I'm engaged in it, right? So I think my answer right now would be that I cannot say for sure, but what I can say is that people really need to hear it more, because the rate at which we constantly hear about things that are happening, it means that some people are not even aware about it, or some people they've not gotten to that stage of telling themselves, I know this is not what I want to do anymore. Or for some young people who experience it, they've not gotten themselves to also not be in that situation. Because I would also say that even though the culprits sometimes are like, how do I put this now? Even though the culprits are people who are intentional about their acts, the victim can also try to not put themselves in situations like that, if you would agree with me. Because there are situations where you could also put yourself in there, and not be very alert or aware about your environment, and you just find yourself in that situation.
Yeah, but seriously, to add to what you've said, and drawing from what he was saying before about justice for. So for me, I think the attention management when it comes to sexual harassment and probably rape should change to the perpetrator. Because when we start to say things like justice for example, justice for Dara was the person this happened to, but then my name is the one I'll be trending. Let us trend the name of the perpetrator, because a part of the reason why people don't come out is because of the repercussion of the attention. Because if you say, there are faces to this attention thing. Attention as far proper enforcement of, this is a crime has happened. Of course, and saying, okay, did he go to court? Was this person punished? What happened? That's one part of the attention and proper, Then the other part of it is the attention, the overall effect, especially in an internet world where things never really get forgotten. There was still 2050. There was justice for, and then the guy that did it is now is a chill guy back in the society or something. And then the girl is trending forever, talking about what happened to her. I don't know if you get what I mean. It doesn't necessarily have to be, a female to a male and all
Let
of that.
me say something. I totally agree with you, and I think that if our audience would actually take it up, right, it should be something that would fly. Right, or I suggest that it flies. My name, Doyimola Olajoye, in years to come. If something good happens now, it would
it will still keep
be known about. Dara is. I said Dara. I wanted to say Bamishi. The lady died, but in years to come, there's still the name Bamishe. What about the guy? What about the BRT guy?
Yeah,
It should really be his
they
name.
should,
It should be
they
their
should
name.
tag him. Like, I feel like they don't do it well enough. They
I
just tag the
totally
girl,
agree with
tag
you.
the guy.
Tag
This
the guy.
is
Let
the
it be the
victim.
guy.
Let us
'cause
know the story.
Dara
'cause-
is dead.
Yeah.
And there's no justice really for us.
Thank
so why
you.
not? Why can't we have the person's name being? I'm trying to be
Being out
what's it
there,
called now?
because the truth is, we mostly in criminology rather. There's this thing about recidivism, the likelihood of a perpetrator to repeat a crime. Yeah. Now, so you're saying this case is in court, for example. Yeah, we don't want to give it too much attention, so public opinion does not sway the opinion of the court and all of the other things you like to say. But the truth is, this person, if he's not, apprehended, for example, he's not in custody or whatever it is, and he's let out, and he's still in the street or whatever, can always continue to do these things. Maybe not to the full extent, because not is what they caught him for is going to be there for. But he's probably doing other low-key stuff, by the side also of his. So you get what I mean. So I feel like we should change the attention management.
Yeah, it should be
tag the dude or the perpetrator and the victim. Let us get the full story. Don't let just the victim be trending, because this is where the stigma comes from.
Yes.
This is what produced that stigma, that they know her as the child that was raped. Yeah. And then the dude, nothing is happening to his name. Do you get what I mean?
Strongly agree. I'm just seeing it in a different light.
Yeah, because
why is it justice for this person?
Yes.
Who is even dead already, and not I don't know the hashtag it should be now.
Yeah,
but
but
people would always get hashtags for that.
Exactly. Then they'll just put the guy or whatever, the perpetrator there. I agree too.
So, what kind of punishments do you think is deserving to corporate courts, and especially when it involves death?
You can go.
Why are you leaving this for me? Well, now, like I said before, the distinction between rape and sexual assault. Yeah, but when it involves death, I think it sort of changes the game. And most times, I've really not heard about sexual, assault, leading to death. Have you heard? Most times it's full-fledged rape, or that I know often lead to
Really can as
all of
well.
that.
It can.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
Maybe we've not heard of it.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. But it could, most times when people will say maybe it was psychological, so the person committed suicide. So, and they wouldn't say, it was when she was assaulted, she now decided to end her life, that kind of thing. So we can't often trace it if that was the contributory factor, because the person who is deceased did not leave a note like, I died because of the sexual, assault I faced or something like that. So if you ask me, is there a punishment? I don't know if punishment will fit this. And it's to sort of be almost impossible to assume that just because we are mentioning it and we're mentioning it, people will just become new creatures and they say, I would never assault people again. I don't think that would work either, because I could advocate for let's keep sensitizing people. Mentioning so much that everybody's like, I'm tired, everywhere sexual assault. That would work fine, but I don't really think it would solve the problem, because there are laws and yet people still, assault people. So what I would suggest, though, in my own opinion, is helping people to speak up. Saying, be the over-sabi person. When anybody touches you, shout, exaggerate it. Stop carrying the shame, because that's one of the things I wrote about in my blog, that I would not, be quiet. I would not say, it's just a normal thing, it was a joke, let me know. I will disgrace you. You caused the disgrace, so let us finish it in disgrace. I will shout, I will say, no, don't touch me that way, this is wrong, I do not stand for it. I think that is more fitting than a punishment, but that's just my opinion, though.
Punishment for the culprit. I think you're actually not yet to
In the
answer the question.
Okay.
Like talking about the person, like what do you think should be done to the person who does such?
Yeah, maybe it should help. Yeah. So, what do you think?
I think you pretty much, sort of
because I don't know what kind of if it's rape,
thinking about the victim.
No, I know, but if it's rape, it's a different thing. I don't know if you get what I mean.
Okay, since you already established that sexual harassment is different from rape, so that's why you don't know what to
Yeah, like you get what I mean. So what would you suggest though? Like for the
Yes,
yes. yes. No, really, what would you suggest like should happen in that situation?
Okay, I think the first question should be asking, does sexual harassment lead to death? I think that should be the first questions, especially because we've already separated rape from sexual harassment, right? Many times, if it's harassment, it could just be in the head of the female or the male that experiences it, and so it sort of dies within them, except they just share it with friends or anyone that they confide in. And for whoever harassed the person who is the victim, many times they're just living their life like no man's business. So I would say that there's really no maybe punishment in sense of I really don't know. How do you punish adults who just intentionally...
That's why I had to take it back to how to nip it in the bud. Because for law, for example, you get compensation from the court. Yeah, you could take it to court and then you could be rightly compensated. Yeah, that's in form of a fine or maybe imprisonment. But in actuality, how many people are going to say, I want to fight a case, this person assaulted me? Because it depends on the severity.
It's being done. Maybe it's because of where we are.
No, I know.
Nigeria.
No, I said
I'm sure that
I don't think it just applies to Nigeria. I think anywhere, because court process is court process anywhere. Litigation is litigation anywhere, and there are due processes to be followed. Not everybody takes things so personally, and sometimes you have not fed well.
People do.
Yeah, do you get what I mean? Sometimes if you've not eaten. But we have to be realistic in a country like Nigeria. You've not eaten, and then you tell your friend, "I'm going to court." I mean, people look at you and laugh like, "Guy, forgive." They won't tell you things like forgive and forget. I beg, this is normal. So do you get what I mean? That's why I said I really don't think it will be just about punishment, because punishment really, as much as it serves to deter people, it really doesn't solve the problem. I know that if I pay 200,000 naira, I can get away with an assault. I would gladly say, okay, I might as well assault you. 200,000, Abi. Okay, nah. Even if you said 2 million, do you get what I mean? But if I feel like the best way to approach this is the social shame, transferring the shame.
So, any advice for the youth getting involved in such act? Do you have any?
Now, should it be the victim or the what's it called? Okay. Any advice? Can you do better? You can do better. If you have okay, I think I'll say two different things now. And the first is you can choose to, speak to people that you like and get their view about, your likeness or whatever for them. And then the second part, if you just intentionally want to do bad or terrible to the next person, it's really not good enough. I don't know how to advise. It's not good enough. Just speak. If you have certain things that you desire, I think in asking you can get it. And it probably does not have to be from that person that you're looking forward to get it from, except that you have evil intentions in your heart. Just, get better.
I know, right?
Do better.
Do better, yeah. Well, I'll just highlight some of the things you mentioned. First, attention management. Let's start doing hashtag for the perpetrator. Then also, as the victim, don't be ashamed. Let's shift the shame culture. Let's appropriate the shame to who the shame belongs to. I'm not to be ashamed for any action that leads to sexual harassment or even rape. Whoever perpetrated the crime is the shame-worthy person. You deserve the shame. I say this publicly and openly without shame. You deserve the shame. So let's reinforce that. And so as the person, know that you have nothing to be ashamed of.
Well, thank you for joining us on today's episode. See you next time.